Welcome back to my Dark Souls playthrough. Last time we started Sen's Fortress, and we've pretty much completed the whole thing. All that's left is the Iron Golem. Now, I know I intended... Sorry, my asthma's been acted up. I know I intended to do invasions. Well, get invaded and fight people. I really did. But, I've been here for 2 fucking hours, and nothing. Sen's Fortress is dead. I don't know if I over-leveled, or if I'm out of range. I shouldn't be. I picked up a lightning spear. Most people pick up a lightning spear when they come here. So, we should all be in the same bracket. I don't believe +5 divine weapons are higher ranked than a lightning spear. And I know lightning is greater than +10, because that's what you need to elevate it from. So I really have no idea why I'm not getting anything. I even went down and I left a tiny bit to go grab the dried finger, and then only then did I realize I already had the dried finger, so it was a waste. Also, I did grab the Drake Sword. I killed the Hellkite Dragon off-screen. Fucking annoying. Drakes are seen as undeveloped imitators, but in they are likely their distant kin. I feel like that's improper grammar, but maybe it's just archaic. The sword is imbued with mystical powers when wielded with both hands. But, yeah, no, I fucking give up on invading here. It sucks, but whatever. It may actually be a short episode, I don't know. But, let's sort of talk. I had an idea I wanted to talk about for a bit, but I've completely forgotten it, sadly. That's how long I've been here. Other notes, I put the Mask of the Mother back on, as well as I'm wearing the steel armor set at +6. And the Dark Moon, I'm wearing the Dark Moon Seance Ring for an extra slot. I intended to use that for Tranquil Walk of Peace, so I could do some funny force shenanigans, stand here, Tranquil, force off. Sadly, nothing has come of it. This entire fucking time. What, did I just get invaded? Did I finally get invaded? Please tell me. I can't tell. Hey there, it's me from the future. So, I had to mute myself and take a phone call, which is why there was a cut in the footage. Now I know it's because my mom broke her leg, so that was very fun for a day after Christmas surprise. But we're about to go in and fight the Iron Golem. Of course, I forgot to unmute myself, so that's why I'm dubbing it over in the future, but that's more concise at least, so small victories. So here we got the Iron Golem, and fun fact, my first playthrough I made a strength build, and I used the Iron Golem axe for the majority of the playthrough after I killed it here and got it from the giant blacksmith. I also used a claymore, but besides that, it was mainly the axe, and then the claymore when it ran low on durability for me using the air slash. If you can't tell here, I was trying to knock the Iron Golem off the cliff, partially because he was really dumb and he just stuck right there the whole time. He didn't ever really move or readjust. And as we see here, I actually get lucky. 3, 2, 1. Yep. You can actually follow him down. Just disappears, but core of the Iron Golem and a humanity. Overall, I already covered that, but I was going to do grave lording and fight people, but nothing ever came of it for 2 hours. Sucks to suck. Originally a bone of an everlasting dragon, slayer of countless heroes seeking Anor Londo, core of the Iron Golem, guardian of Sen's Fortress. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to Anor Londo. So I'll let the clip play here. Anor Londo, City of the Gods. I got derailed a bunch, but I was talking about, throughout this episode, giants and how strange they are in this series. So, while I'm not focusing on gameplay, I'm just going to talk about some giants because I think it's pretty interesting, and a lot of people don't touch on them a lot. A lot of people. Jesus Christ, my grammar's deteriorating. Either way, the giants are very strange because you have the actual giants that you see in front of you, right? Hawkeye Gao, I believe his name is, from the DLC, one of Gwyn's knights. But you also have the two giants that operate Sen's Fortress, the guy that throws the bombs and the one that puts them down through the trap. Kedemi is a giant sentinel, and their armor is called the Giant's Armor. So they're technically giants. You also have the skeleton giants from the Tomb of the Giants, and what you'll notice is those guys are a little bit shorter than these guys, which are quite smaller than the true-blooded giants. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the term giants. Is it an adjective? Is it a species? Clearly it's a species in some references, but in other references it's simply a descriptor, as far as I can tell. But it's strange because Tomb of the Giants implies that it was a species, a group of people, and it's strange that Nito's domain is the Tomb of the Giants. I don't think Nito is a giant, personally, even if he is large. I just don't think it. I don't know, I've lost my train of thought. I said a lot of what I wanted to say earlier, so now I'm trying to regurgitate it. It's just strange, though, in my opinion. Are the giants all one species? Or are there two groups of giants? Its terminology is strange. Tomb of the Giants implies it's of the species, but they're clearly not giant-sized. And throughout the series, there's even a size discrepancy between the giants. Dark Souls 3, which people probably consider more canon than 2, you have huge giants like the one seen in the Cathedral of the Deep, as well as smaller giants that you see in, I forgot the name of the area, but it's Pontiff's backyard, where Aldia's faithful invade. There's a bunch of them in the courtyard that are far more smaller than the giant you see. So there's a size discrepancy. And of course then you have the Dark Souls 2 giants, which funnily enough are way more concise and sort of pinpointed down to one group. You know, there's no 3 different types of giants going on here. There's just the one giant that the one type of giants that have a giant hole in their face. And so here I think I invest 1 faith and a couple of endurance so I can wear heavy armor. And then I go talk to that maiden right there. But it is very strange. I don't see a lot of people talking about giants, but I think it's pretty remarkable because it just seems strange. And I said this in the first version of this video, but of course the recording's lost. Well, the audio's lost. But the Tomb of the Giants as a name seems very negative. To me, it implies mass genocide or something of the like. I would not think a respectful resting place for the giants who served Gwyn would be called the Graveyard of the Giants. Maybe it'd be called the Giants Memorial, or Memorial to the Giants, or Giants Resting Place, something that's far more endearing, if not respectful. Graveyard of the Giants is strange. It's almost like these guys, when they died, Nito decided, hey, these would make good soldiers, and reanimated them. You know, then you have, of course, the Giant Sentinels, who I can't tell if the giant there is an adjective in the size sense, or if it's literally they're giants. Are there giants major and giants minor, you know? True giants and pseudo-giants? I don't know. Very strange, though. But, and even then, giants are given a lot more importance in Dark Souls 2, even if people don't take Dark Souls 2. I forgot the full point, but there was a lot of study and experimentation with the souls of giants. Vendrick stole something from the giants that made them wage pretty much a death war against Vendrick's kingdom so they could get it back. Aldia experiments with giants, and you need giant souls to actually be able to slay Vendrick easily. You know, for those who don't know, the Ancient Dragon is actually a pretty much a replica of a real ancient dragon that Aldia made, I think to look into the past? I think that's how you get the Ashen Mist Heart. But it has the soul of a giant, which sort of gives you the tell that, hey, this isn't an actual dragon, it was made with the soul of a giant. So my question is sort of this. Even if we ignore Dark Souls 2, were the giants somewhat antagonistic to the gods? Or at least Gwyn? So they aren't treated with respect. You see that with Hawkeye Gao. I believe that's his name. I only ever played the DLC once, and I never got past Artorias. I've watched people play it, but never actually got there myself. Doesn't help I bought it after my first playthrough, so I didn't even have the good strength build. But either way, you know, Hawkeye Gao, he's forced to wear this mask and has, I think, sawdust shoved in there to where he can't see anymore. It's strange. It's really strange. But yeah, overall though, the giants in this series are very strange. Now back on the topic of Nito, at the end of this recording I actually sort of talked for a bit about Nito and Izalith, and I was hypothesizing about certain things. But since now I have the whole rest of the video, I'll just talk about it here. There's something of note onto Izalith first, is that if you read, especially Dark Souls 1 descriptions, item descriptions, it seems the demons had an actual civilization, right? The Demon Fire Sage staff mentions how the Fire Sage was the first to learn the fire sorceries, the art of fire sorcery from the Queen of Izalith. And of course, the name Fire Sage is already indicative. Sage, bare minimum, implies a heightened role in society as someone with wisdom, and at most can even imply religious standing. So it's very interesting. But even then, you see hints and pieces of there being some sort of hierarchy and civilization amongst the demons. Dark Souls 3 actually gives, even if they're at their very end, it gives a lot of evidence and meat to it. Right? You have the twin princes, who are the last of the demons. Then you have the old demon king, right? Once again, this implies roles and standing amongst the demons, as well as a rulership over them. So even after Izalith dies in this game, it's clear the demons still march on and have some form of society. But in game, I think the only sane demon you ever meet is in Dark Souls 2, and it's a blacksmith Ornifex, and I'm not even sure the crow demons count as actual demons. It depends, because you have the lightning messenger demons here, and then you have the crow demons that are associated with Velka. It really all depends. And notice here there's once again gargoyles, so I believe gargoyles are probably some sort of a golem, or like a golem. I'm gonna miss a bunch in this fight. But back onto Izalith, it's clear that there is a demon civilization, that they were a civilized people that had a culture, they had a government, you know, they had a religion maybe, so on and so forth. They had all the standings of a people, a group of people, culture, you know what I'm saying, I keep regurgitating. Either way, but in-game we only ever meet maybe one sane demon, right? Ornifex in Dark Souls 2, which is more canonically ambiguous, depending on who you are. My theory is that when Gwyn linked the fire to humanity, humanity is simply the term used to describe all life, maybe because humans stand at the apex of it, so to speak. But at the end of the day, when humanity was chained to fire, all living life was chained to it. All life sort of hit this entropy, this decline, this chaining to the fire being linked and burning bright. Maybe it hits humanity very specifically, but all races were affected by this. And that's why the demons we meet in-game, even if they do show some signs of, whatchamacallit, civilization, are seemingly rabid by the time we encounter them. Hell, you even still see demons guarding stuff that Gwyn has. The Asylum Demon and the Stray Demon guard the Undead Asylum. You see the Capra Demon chilling out in the Undead Burg with 2 pet dogs in the slums, right? And as far as I remember, sometimes Hollows do retain very specific facts of their time before. I don't think there's any really good examples off the top of my head, but I do recall there's at least one instance of it, so maybe the same thing happened to the demons, right? It's very interesting, and also, what should be very much minded is that Chaos weapons are the only infusion in all of Dark Souls 1 that scales off of humanity. I don't believe the Manus Catalyst scales off humanity. You know, lightning, which is very much the element of the gods, does not scale off humanity. And also, pyromancy is intrinsic to all life. You know, spells you need intelligence, and miracles you need faith. In Dark Souls 1 at least, pyromancies were purely on your affinity to the flame, and not at all based around any sort of academic knowledge. It's very interesting. So my hypothesis is, and this guy jump scared me, by the way. I did not know he was going to drop down. Very funny reaction I had, but sadly it's not here anymore. But either way, very interesting stuff, I think. I actually forgot to say what my point was. It was that I believe when Gwyn linked humanity to the fire, he really linked all life to the fire. And to sort of back up my point further, you know, instances that aren't demons, right? Dark Souls 3, you see dogs that are very visibly hollowed. They're somehow dogs are hollowing, which doesn't really make sense when humanity and the dark sign are supposed to be chained to humanity as in the species, right? And even then, I don't fully know the lore of the Puss of Man, but from what I do remember, it is seemingly a build-up and collection of humanity, the essence of humanity, the deep to a degree. I believe that's what it was, and you can see in Dark Souls 3, guarding Lothric Castle proper, are two wyverns infested by the Puss of Man. So clearly it's even affecting the dragons this late into the society, into the cycle. Very interesting stuff. There's probably a few more instances I could try to remember or find, but really it sticks out to me that even in Dark Souls 3, you had bare minimum evidence of dogs hollowing, which does not seem right at all. So yeah, but my main point is all living life, which is enshrined in the term humanity, is chained to the dark sign. Hell, this, going into a point later, this may be the real reason why Izalith tried to make her own, her own first flame, a recreation. Because when Gwyn did that, or when Gwyn started to plan that, it was overstepping on her bounds. I'm not fully sure on the placement of what came first, goose or the egg, but something like that probably happened, because in my mind it's this: why did Gwyn wage a war against one of his fellow demigods, or one of his fellow gods? It doesn't make sense. So what? She tried to fix the problem that all of you guys knew was happening. It's not sensical, right? Well, what if it was either A, usurpation, or B, shit, I forgot what B was. Damn it. Usurpation. Actually, shit. I actually forgot what the second point was. Well, usurpation's a good enough point to talk about it. Izalith may have heard about Gwyn's plan and decided to jumpstart ahead. Actually, what the fuck? Huh. I'm drawing a complete blank, and it's really pissing me off. But back into the other side, other parts of this theory that I've sort of come up with today, just pondering on it. The Way of White has clear connections to Nito. First and foremost, the Way of White seemed to be a religious group founded to push the idea of linking the fire and keeping the fire going. And first and foremost, they worship Gwyn. But it's clear they also have some hardcore dedication to Nito, the Grave Lord, Why? Well, Nito, you can tell through a few ways. First of all, is the large divine ember, which, if you read its item description, it's something about how it was, sort of only given to elite divine blacksmiths who were trusted by the gods and high in church standing. But also, way more easily noticeable is the fact that the Way of White routinely makes pilgrimages to the undead catacombs. And it can't solely be about the undead, linking the flame, because that's not where the undead come from. They don't come from his catacombs or his tomb. Anyone can turn undead. It's just a tragedy that happens one day. So it can't be that. Well, what if Gwyn and Nito were in cahoots, right? It seems all the gods, to some degree, are committed to their central point. Gwyn is very much dedicated to keeping the fire burning, which keeps the world bright. The furtive pygmy has no true power, and so he can't truly push any of his agendas, right? None of the pygmy lords can, so they can't push for dark, but even then, you could probably find some justification about it. But then you see Izalith and Nito, and they both, in their own ways, show evidence of proliferating what they want. I'm still iffy on necromancy and how that syncs up with Nito, but bare minimum, he is the only god that has an invasion cult, or an invasion covenant. Chaos Servants don't count because they're dedicated to helping one of Izalith's daughters, not Izalith herself. It's purely trying to use humanity, which in this interpretation is the literal life force, to give Quaylana, I think her name is? Let's just say Quaylana. Trying to give Quaylana more life force so she can fight off her infection, right? Literally stealing life force from some to give to others. But besides that, which is not even really related to the Izalith the Witch, the real god, Gwyn doesn't have an invasion covenant. He has a covenant that's dedicated to helping others link the flame, inadvertently link the flame. Who was the other one? No, that's it, because, yeah, technically you have the Dark Wraiths, but those are Koth. They're not really... They're dedicated to bringing about the edge of the dark, but that's not said about by Manus or the Pygmies. But my point is, Nito is the only one with an invasion covenant, and his covenant is the whole goal is bringing about Eyes of Death, which I'm not sure what they do, but you're literally told to kill people, make more people die, because you infect other worlds with stronger enemies, and when they come to fight you, you kill them and you get the Eyes of Death. You're technically doing 2 times the killing. One on their turf and one on your turf. So clearly Nito is in it for death, and what better way to proliferate death than to act against the goddess of life? Meanwhile, of course, back onto the everyone goes for their agendas, Izalith inadvertently creates more life when she makes the Chaos Flame. Sure, it was in an attempt to preserve the flame, but I've forgotten my point about that, sadly. Womp womp. But either way, she still creates life even when she doesn't fully mean to. And she already did what she did, so to speak, or what she had to, since most life seems to be chained to her in one way, shape, or form. And if she heard about a plot by Gwyn, assisted by Nito, to link all life to the fading fire that would bring about maladies and just overall bad crap to living life, she would set about on her own way to protect that. In this case, it was to try to make a new flame, and Gwyn may have seen this as an attempt at usurpation or rebellion, hence why he sent the demons, not because they were out of control, but because they were a direct threat to him. And once again, we see, back to my idea of the Tomb of Giants being a mass grave, not on good terms with the gods, we see a similar endeavor carried out by Gwyn and his Black Knights upon the extermination of demons. And demons seem to just be life created by Izalith, I mean. Full-on created by Izalith, not peripheral at all. And of course, back to them being seemingly a species, some demons clearly joined Gwyn's cause and were given maybe amnesty or just accepted with begrudging arms, similar to Seath, right? The Astray and Asylum demons guard the undead asylum. You have these messenger demons that carry you to Anor Londo when you beat Sen's Fortress. And then, not Gwyn, but Velka, you have the crow demons that have sided with Velka and are seen more or less associated with her. There's also the idea that demons are not specifically just Izalith, but rather any creatures made without the god's intent or will. I don't fully believe that. Well, gods as in Gwyn, predominantly. I don't fully believe that just because not all demons have to be associated with fire, or later, ash and rock. There we go. And hell, back onto the point of... back onto the point of... Oh damn, almost into the video. Back on the point of Izalith and the life force. I talked about it, but I cut it from another earlier video. The necromancers seen in Nito's tomb, the undead catacombs, are actually originally pyromancers for the Great Swamp. So if we want to use cut content as evidence, it sort of implies that there's two different ways to undo death, the Nito way and the Izalith way, which may have also thrown a wrench into their working relationship. Hence, more reason why Nito is against Izalith. Either way, end of the video, so see you guys next time.